On the 4th of April, GrimGrimoire OnceMore will be released for the Nintendo Switch, a remastered version of the same game that was released for the PlayStation 2 in 2007. This new version has been available in Japan for quite some time, but now the game is being launched globally. This game contains, apart from the original, a lot of improvements that partially change the experience. In this video I discuss basic aspects of the game, how it feels on the Nintendo Switch and whether it's worth buying. The initial price is set at $50, but let's start with the story. Our protagonist is a girl named Lilith. She has begun studying at a magical academy under the guidance of Gameldor. The academy is housed in a tower where students and teachers interact with each other based on their own agendas. For example, we get to know characters like Margarita, a student who seems a bit shady. We meet a man who through a curse received a lion's head, and then we meet a devil-like guy named Advocate, who may seem evil on the surface. But is he really? Appearances can be deceiving. There are of course many more characters in the game, and sometimes I have to say that it can be a little tricky to keep up with everything that's going on. It's a somewhat convoluted narrative because of all the story threads, which partly includes Lilith's journey through the tower, but also the hunt for the Philosopher's Stone, and that we get to hear about the fates of different people. But in order to be able to remind yourself of what happened in the past, there is a diary where you can easily update yourself about what happened at a certain stage. Let's move on and discuss the gameplay. I would argue that this is similar to a two-dimensional tower defense game. You see a limited part of the game board where you have to build a base, get troops and defense towers. The shaded parts of the level are parts where the enemy resides, so the setup is generally pretty simple. Build an army and knock out your opponent. Or defend yourself by building an extensive network of towers that can damage the opponent or heal your troops. There are 3 different zoom modes, but mostly I used the most zoomed out mode to get an overview of where the enemy is positioned. What makes the gameplay more interesting is that there are 4 different phalanxes, all of which are completely different, and it might be worth learning how they all work because they can all be useful in different situations. Personally, I mostly use the green phalanx because it contains a combination of offensive towers, mobile air troops and ground troops, a pretty good combination, but other phalanxes have other strengths. Here I use demons to eliminate the enemy, large and relatively clumsy, but also strong. Something new with this remastered version is that there are different levels of difficulty, easy, normal and hard. My impressions are that it's relatively easy to win on easy mode, and the fights are rarely exciting. It feels more like easy mode exists to experience the story. Normal and hard are definitely more challenging and can require you to quickly build up a sustainable base as well as knowing which troops to use and at what time. The troops and buildings are also upgradable, something that I actually think is one of the game's great assets. You have something to look forward to. By completing various missions, you're rewarded with coins, which can then be used to become stronger. When you press the study tab, you see different trees. For example, you can upgrade your fairies to make them faster and do more damage, or you can upgrade the Chimera so it gets a bigger health pool or more defense. Since the skill trees are well sized, there is the possibility of getting a refund of one's coins. This if you want to buy other skills in other trees, which is good because it allows for some experimentation. I must address something that I consider a missed opportunity. When it comes to control, it generally works well to divide and move the troops across the playing field. If I do a quick estimate, you can have about 20 to 30 creatures in action at the same time, and it works well to control both the troops that collect materials and troops that attack. This is not a point-and-click game, but sometimes it feels a bit point-and-clicky, and it would have been a good option if you could use the Switch touchscreen. Something that is unfortunately not possible. I actually sat and thought about it when I played. For example, I think it would have been easy to zoom in and out and scroll around the playing field with a touchscreen function, also to move the troops around to a chosen place. Like I said, using the regular controls works fine, but with a touchscreen feature we would have another useful option and a great alternative. So for those wondering what is new compared to the original, it can be mentioned that the graphics have been updated and that the image is now wider compared to before. There is also a new spell that can make a huge difference in battle. It's called Grand Magic. I used it a couple of times and it was next to cheating. For example, one can choose to use Grand Magic in a limited area and cause enormous havoc. Very effective. Just look at this. There is also a fast forward function that may prove useful. Sometimes it takes time to gather resources, so it can be nice to speed things up a bit. That way you don't have to just sit there and get bored waiting. Another new thing is that there is a gallery. The further into the game you get, the more pictures are unlocked. I assume Japanese artists are behind these paintings, and I must say, they look pretty cool actually. GrimGrimoire OnceMore is a slightly different adventure game that may appeal to those who like to build bases, defend against enemy attacks and counter-attack when the opportunity arises, or to simply build up a large force and attack first. The experience can become somewhat monotonous over time because it usually involves doing similar things. However, there is some variation depending on the assignments having different goals. You can play through all the missions that are connected to the story, or you can do side missions to obtain coins. In addition, you can use a variety of units that can be fun to play with. As for the game's performance, it maintains a high level. I haven't found any bugs or crashes, the frame rate is also stable. I tried using as many troops as possible at the same time, but it still flows well despite many warriors being active at the same time. All the new elements make the game feel relatively fresh and broaden the experience. I especially appreciate the skill tree, which really makes it worth getting through all the missions to be able to make your troops stronger. All in all, this game is solid in its own way, but I also consider this to be a relatively niche experience. But for those who appreciate managing troops and defending their base, this may be worth the money. My overall rating is 7.5 out of 10. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a good day. See ya!